go, yo, what's up? So today we're going to be discussing the first book of Cassandra Clare's new Shadowhunter series, The Last Hours. Chain of Gold! So the title of the book came from a passage of the book Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. It is also a retelling of the book of the same author. So this book discussion will have two parts, the non-spoiler section and the spoiler section, to which the non-spoiler section will also be divided into two parts, the setting and the synopsis, and the overall rating. On the other hand, the spoiler section will be divided into 5 parts, the thoughts on the specific plot points, on relationships, and on some extras, the positives, number 3, the negatives, number 4, the quotes to remember, and number 5, the questions that I felt that were left unanswered. So on to the non-spoiler section.
Oh, it's amazing that you came here.
So the setting and the synopsis. So this story takes place in the Edwardian era of London, and a shadowhunter named Cordelia Carstairs arrives in London and meets childhood friends named Lucy Herondale and James Herondale. After her father had been accused by the Clave, the government of Shadowhunters, she strives to remove a stain from her Shadowhunters family name and bring her father back by talking to people of power in her whereabouts. But things in London begin to get rough after experiencing decreased demonic activity for years. Attacks begin to resurface even stronger and more powerful than ever before. Cordelia and her friends find themselves in the midst of a conflict and now have no other choice but to face the threat that might destroy the shadow world. So to give you a rough idea of what I think of the book, I rated it on Goodreads a 5 out of 5 stars. Also, I would like to recommend this book to every one of you out there. I know it's weird to have recommend this book to everyone out there, especially knowing that people have different tastes in books. Like, if you don't like fantasy, they make up for characters. If you don't like relationships on books, they will make it up for the action that comes along with the book. So yeah, just go read it. I mean, it says a lot about the book if I recommend it to everyone. Like, in some books, I would recommend it for like a specific portion of people. But this book, I feel like, would definitely be loved by the general public. It's such a heart-wrenching book. I think you should give it a chance. If you plan on reading the book, you might as well leave now. If you want to know or get spoiled of all the shit that happens in the book, you can watch it if you want, but I would really prefer for you to read it. So just get the fuck out, please, okay? I want you to read the book and know what it feels like to experience these emotions that I am experiencing now. So go read the book, okay? So spoilers, 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 spoilers. So the thoughts on specific plot points in the book in order. So the boy in the forest being Jesse Blackthorne. So I knew it from the very beginning of the book, from the Days Past chapter, that the boy in the forest was Jesse Blackthorne because his description described him as someone with green eyes, and also because I was looking through the family tree that was in the dust jacket of the Clockwork Princess book, and I saw that Jesse Blackthorne was connected to Lucy Herondale. So I immediately thought, oh, this is Jesse Blackthorne, the love interest of Lucy Herondale. And when it was confirmed, like in chapter 2, I immediately gave myself a high five. I made an intelligent guess on who the boy in the forest was. I don't know about you, but I just wanted to share it to y'all. So James Herondale being in love with Grace Blackthorne. I knew prior to reading the book, Jace was in love with Grace because in the Bane Chronicles short story, and also because I've done some research on the last hours, which, not gonna lie, spoils you on a lot of shit in the book, so you might as well not read those. But yeah, I was also confused about James liking or falling in love with Grace, especially when we see Cordelia and James connected in the family tree, and Cordelia having a huge crush on James. So at the beginning part of the book, I was confused by that. Anyways, moving on, James trading off from Cordelia to go meet Grace in the fucking ballroom. Honest thoughts, I didn't find this quite a big deal, but then I remember that it was kind of a big deal at that time in the Edwardian era of London, and it was rude to leave someone in the middle of a dance floor, especially when that person is a girl. So it was kind of a dick move for James, but then again, like, Grace had some power over him, as we all know at the following chapters of the book, and he could not have stopped himself from leaving Cordelia. Also, James and Cordelia moment when James had scalding fever. Can we talk about that? Okay, so I love Cordelia and she's such a sweetheart. And I love them both separately. And when this was shown in the book, it didn't make me like scream as much now because we were just getting to know these characters and these relationships of these characters. So this scene really made me think about the relationship more and want to read about them more. So yeah. Another scene though is like when Grace asks James to get a bracelet from a box from Blackthorn Manor in Idris and he wears it for Grace. I immediately thought of Grace as a manipulative bitch. It was one of their first encounters with each other, and Grace, as the fucker that she is, immediately demanded James to retrieve the bracelet from a box that was kept locked by her mother. And James just freely, with no questions, James freely does it for her. It seems suspicious as fuck, and I was right to be suspicious about it because Grace is not to be trusted, man. It is not. She is not to be trusted. Also, another scene to take in with Grace being a manipulative fucker is when Grace asks James to marry her. She was being toxic as fuck and is part of the book. She asks James to marry her in a mundane ceremony where he'll be stripped from his marks as a shadow hunter and drawn away from his family and friends. Like, imagine leaving all that shit for someone you barely even know. And good thing though, I'm proud of James for not giving in to Grace, even though James loves Grace as much as like Romeo loves Juliet or some shit. And she says in the next chapter, I think, that was a test to prove if James really loved her, but I feel like that was a test to see if her powers were as strong to James. Turns out it wasn't. So she left James for Charles because Charles can be easily manipulated. So I think that's a theory for me. Like, maybe she's done it because of that, you know? And I feel like James isn't easily manipulated as what a normal person would be like when Grace does her siren-like abilities because of his demon heritage. So yeah, that's my fucking theory for that scene. Also, Barbara dying from a demon poison in her veins. Like, this was so sad. I imagine Sophie and Gideon in the Infernal Devices book and how undeserving they were to have experienced a loss of a child. I feel like it was like an insignificant character death, but to me it was something more than that because it was Sophie and Gideon's fucking child. It was Thomas's sister. Anyways, let's go on to more lighter note. So Cordelia, when she was dancing in Helruel and distracting the crowd from what Anna Lightwood was doing to Hypatia. So as I read through this part of the book, I legit had goosebumps all over me, like no cap. Like, man, it was beautiful. James was in awe the entire time. I was in awe the entire time. So that just shows to prove that Cordelia doing the distraction thing was so spot on and was so well written beautifully, okay? Also, after that, James and Cordelia kissing in the whispering room. I love this. I cried when I read through it. I was tearing up. It also gave me huge goosebumps in my fucking skin, man. Like, oh my god. I couldn't have asked for a better scene for Cordelia and James. This is hands down the best part of the book, okay? Fight me, okay? Fight me. But then Matthew comes in And it was weird because Matthew apparently likes Cordelia. I was confused by that one because after I looked at reviews and reading vlogs of Chain of Gold, I didn't realize that Matthew liked Cordelia. So I was confused by that. I have to reread the book though. Like, can you please send me a passage of the book where it says that Matthew likes Cordelia? Because I don't think he does. I think he likes Lucy though. Anyways, more of that later. Speaking of Lucy having control over ghosts. I love her powers, but I don't think it connects to her demon heritage. Ghosts are ghosts. Like, it's caught up between bad and good. It's kind of like the gray area, if you will. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Please tell me in the comments below. Thanks. Also, James realizing that his grandfather was Belial, a prince of hell. We all knew that it had to be a prince of hell or a significant person in hell, because who would experiment on like a random demon out of nowhere on Tessa Gray? I don't know, it just feels like a waste of time if they were to do that. So yeah. Oh, this part. Jesse giving his last breath to James. We stand Jesse, man. We stand Jesse. Even though he was a Blackthorn at that time, and both Blackthorns in this book with Tatiana and Grace being fucking evil, I respected him for doing this, and I will continue to do so in the next books. What I am curious about though is that maybe a part of Jesse was transferred to James, or maybe, oh my fucking god, maybe it was it was a part of the plan of Tatiana to exchange his last breath to James so that they can scheme to attack. But I trust Jesse. Jesse wouldn't do that. But I feel like they would scheme using Jesse's last breath to fight the Clave, or like attack the Shadowhunters from that point of view of James. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I just feel like it. Anyways, I would love to know how that comes to place, if that will happen or not, because things aren't easy as they're meant to be whenever it's a Cassandra Clare book, you know? It feels like it's going to happen. I'm not sure, that's just a theory, okay? Anyways, let's move on. So Grace persuading James to kill the automaton at the Blackthorn Manor by her siren-like abilities, and clasps the bracelet on James's wrist. Like, I don't want to bother with this bitch anymore. She is tiring as fuck. We all know she's using her siren-like abilities or some shit on James, and that makes James love her. But I'm just tired, man. I'm just tired of this bitch. Can you please leave this book? Leave this book right now. Can you not be part of this book? Okay? But you know, it kind of makes up for a good story anyway, so who's to say I am to make Grace leave out of the book, you know? And I don't think that's possible even. But I'm just tired of her, you know? Stop saying you know! Cordelia entering the room with her kingfisher blue gown, looking all so beautiful right after Grace and James kiss. She dressed herself up for James. She even got the book that they were supposed to read together. And then that's what happens? Fuck, man, I'm out. Okay, I joke. So after that, James tells Matthew and Cordelia that he loves Grace and that he has to do something for her. And I just wanna do this all over. God, I hate drugs. The next day, they figure out all that shit, and then they go to an enclave meeting, and Cordelia, being the kind person that she is, stands up for James, knowing that her prospects of getting married is gonna be ruined because of saying it. I love you, honey, but I was so shocked when you said that. Like, it feels like a dumb move, honestly. And yeah, I understand it because she loves James and all that shit, but that's your life, honey. Your life. you're kind of like throwing it away just because of some random guy. But it's not some random guy. Oh my god, it's James. But still, there could have been ways to get through it. It just seems unnecessary. Oh my god, just So because of that, James drags Cordelia out of the room and demands her to take it back. But she's so stubborn to take it back that James kneels down in front of her and proposes. I mean, I love the gesture and all. James is such a sweetheart. James is such a cutie and all that shit. But like, it seems like they did it so that they can solve that problem. But no. I mean, technically it solves the problem, but it just doesn't feel right for me. It doesn't feel right. It feels also wrong. James doesn't love Cordelia. He loves Grace. And if I were in Cordelia's place at that time, I wouldn't have said yes, honestly. I know it's like the love of your life and some shit, but it's all for the wrong reasons. I mean, it's for a right reason in the aspect that Cordelia's gonna be out of that problem of getting married and all that shit, but it's wrong because, I mean, like, James doesn't love Cordelia. He loves Grace. And it's gonna hurt like hell for her. It's gonna hurt like hell, like, and I swear to God, I cried when I read through it. Like, I teared up. Like, I was crying, like, legit crying. But right now, as of right now, I'm kind of frustrated now as looking back to what happened. So Cordelia hesitates, knowing that James loves someone else, Grace, but agrees to it anyway because of the benefits that it possesses. Cordelia accepts the proposal, which logically speaking is the best course of action at this moment. It just feels wrong for me. Like, personally, it hurts. They're gonna get married and it just feels so wrong. Anyways, so yeah, moving on. They agree to get married for a year and divorce right after. And see, I wouldn't think this would work. Maybe there's something gonna happen because turns out they're gonna have a child in the family tree. So I don't know how this turns out, but I really want to know how it turns out. Like, I really love the book, honestly, but it's just, it made me feel things that I would not have felt on books, you know? So yeah. And lastly, in the end of the book, Belial and Tatiana's schemes to strike the clay from the adamant citadel. Now this is what I'm here for. I want to know what happens. I want to know where all of this would turn out. I'm excited. I'm excited for the book. I really want the book now. So if Simon Teen, if you're watching this, please send me the book. I will send you all the details. I would willingly give you my address just so that I can get the book. Just tell me, Simon Teen. Just give me an arc. Give me an arc of Chain of Iron or Chain of Thorns. Okay, let's move on to relationships. So Thomas and Alistair's relationship. There was a passage in the book where it said, "For these days it had been as though nobody else existed in the entire world." I love them together, and I think Alistair's character deserves a second chance. But in the ending of the book, like in the last parts of the book, we see Alistair crying after Matthew exposing him for the rumors he spread about their family. And I know that it wasn't the best solution to approach the problem for Alistair when he didn't have any friends at Shadowhunter Academy. I still feels like he deserves a second chance. Like, everyone deserves a second chance, man. So let's talk about Grace. Not gonna lie, I feel a sense of relatability for Grace because I was kind of like drawn away from society as a kid. I also wanted to save her in a part of the book where she gets scolded by Tatiana for leaving the Chiswick house, which just shows to say that her powers can exceed through the book, like outside of the book, because she persuaded me to feel sorry for her. I relate to her. That's probably why I feel these things for her. Also, Alistair's personality. Let's talk about that. I was thinking about Alistair's personality, about how someone can be mean and rude, and that a person's character is still drawn to the good. He just made bad choices. That doesn't make him an entirely bad person. He also wholeheartedly said, "I would never marry some poor woman and deceive her as to my love and regard." Alistair, I want to hug him. Also, I want to talk about Matthew's feelings for Lucy. Matthew said this to Lucy. If it were anyone else but you, Lucy, saying these things to me, ... I feel like there's gonna be a love triangle for Jesse, Matthew, and Lucy. I mean, that's just a theory, but I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if Matthew actually likes Lucy because Matthew also likes Cordelia. I'm so confused. But personally, if they were to be together, I don't see it that way because I see them only as friends. And I feel like an integral part of the book is about unrequited love and how the characters handle them, which is a different take for Cassie Clare's writing, since she mostly writes about people who are both in love with each other, who share the same feelings for one another. Also, I want to talk about Cordelia and James's relationship. I always felt this kind of manner for people I like in general, them not liking me back and so forth, you know, the basic stuff. And because of that, I feel like a deep connection to Cordelia. Like she's my spirit animal or some shit. And there was a passage of this book, or like the thoughts of Cordelia in this book, where James and Cordelia are dancing and they're with their engagement party and all that. It said, a year of living with James and loving him might ruin her for any other love, but oh, at least she would blaze up in glory. For a year she would share his life. They would walk together, read together, eat together, and live together. They would laugh together. For a year she would stand close to the fire and know what it was like to burn. Christ, it is hurting. Okay, let's move on to the extras of the book. Like my thoughts on extras of the book. So Will Herondale being a father. The love of my life, Will Herondale. It's a fucking daddy, okay? He's a fucking daddy. I love him so much. Also, there was a part in the book about cruel Prince James and secret Princess Lucy. Like, this was so cute. I love them like as brother and sister. I wish I had a sister or brother because I don't. Also, there was a part in the book where Malcolm looks for Blackthorn blood, and I just wanted to point this out because of the dark artifices where he succeeds in getting the Blackthorn blood. My mom's there. She's reading the dark artifices, so might as well lower my voice down. Okay, the positives of the book was that it had an emotional effect on me. This book was a roller coaster ride of emotions. It made me feel things separate from what TID made me feel, the Infernal Devices made me feel, and it made me so happy to have felt those feelings. Another positive of the book is that the development of the relationships and characters. Like, the characters' relationships were so developed. That's why it made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me frustrated over the book, which is a sign of a good book. So let's talk about the negatives. It wasn't as plot driven as most of Cassandra Clare's books. Like, it wasn't plot driven as I expected it to be. I wish there was more to the plot, and I felt that it wasn't as strong plot wise, like compared to the other Cassandra Clare books, because if you've read The Dark Artifices, then you would know that it's so plot driven. And it also like has these connections with the characters. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just wish there was more to the plot. Quotes to remember. Number 1, Stories Offer 1,000 Fresh Starts by Tessa Herondale. Number 2, We Don't Always Love People Who Deserve It by Thomas Lightwood. Number 3, We do not get to choose when in our lives we feel pain. It comes, and when it comes, we try to remember, even though we cannot imagine a day when it will release its hold on us, that all pain fades. All misery passes. Humanity is drawn to the light and not darkness. Matthew Fairchild. So, let's move on to the questions that I felt that were left unanswered. I was confused because Lucy and James can see ghosts, but Anna and Christopher can't. Because, like, Anna and Christopher are also Herondales by blood because of Cecily. And how could they not possibly see ghosts too? Because Cecily can see ghosts too, right? Also, Gray's siren-like abilities, where it comes from and how it works. I want to see more of that. In the earlier parts of the book, we read that Lucy sees a man in the shadows. He was a young man with pale blonde hair and a hard twist to his unforgiving mouth. So is it Alistair or Matthew, or was it someone else entirely? I also looked through Cassandra Clare's Tumblr. She said that it was someone we know from the Infernal Devices. And I think I'm going to look at through characters in the Infernal Devices to know who she was talking about. I have a question regarding the gift Malcolm Fade gave to the gang. Well, like, is it essential or necessary to the future? Like, is he really a good person as he says he is? Also, Cortana's powers. I want to know more about Cortana's powers because she's even more powerful than a mortal sword, okay? And also, how does Cortana show itself in the Shadow Realm? Like, we see James, like, see a golden light in the Shadow Realm and that it led him to Cordelia and Cortana. Like, how? And also, is Grace part of Belial's plan? I think she is. I feel like she is. And who is Nettie? Nettie gave a letter to Thomas to give to James from Jem. And I just wanted to know, who the fuck is Nettie? Yeah, my last question is Matthew liking Cordelia. I don't know, but I wasn't able to spot this part. Like, I want to know more. So yeah. That was my book discussion for Chain of Gold. I know I'm leaving this book discussion on a questionable note, but it's just for you to think clearly and deeper into the book. Again, as I've told you, my overall rating is 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like this shit of a video if you liked it. And comment your thoughts on everything Chain of Gold. Please do. I really want to know. So I'll see you on the next video. Bye, world.
Got me like, ooh.
Oh my god, I'm done. No, okay. I want to tell you this because I've done this 2 times. This is like the second take already for the Chain of Gold book discussion. I've done it. I'm so happy with myself. Let me pat myself in the back. Oh my god.